Yeah, let's go from corporations to classrooms. We're seeing some of this same kind of activism in schools. Here's what Ron DeSantis had to say at the Florida Homeschool Convention earlier today.
At the end of the day, not every school is going to be right for every kid. And parents, understandably, are looking at the education that their kids are getting. And a lot of it is good academics, but a lot of it is good values. A lot of it is making sure their education is grounded in their faith, and they have every right to do that. And in Florida, we've empowered parents to do that regardless of their income levels. And so we're proud of what we've done to be #1 in education freedom.
Joining us now in studio, Tudor Dixon, former Michigan gubernatorial candidate and host of the Tudor Dixon podcast. Welcome to the show. We're glad to have you here. It's an interesting moment right now. There's a lot of pushback happening with schools, happening with corporations. People say, I don't want to be preached at, especially on topics involving sexuality in these forums. What do you make of that pushback happening?
Well, look at who's pushing back. We're seeing men pushing back on some of these sexualized promotions and saying that's not for me, and moms pushing back because you see this in Target. So it's really dads and moms, the typical people that are saying, I don't want this, I just want to have my product and not have to worry about it. But what you hear Ron DeSantis saying about schools is interesting because you're also at the same time seeing a push toward school choice, and you're seeing more private schools take on more students. So you see this push that parents are saying, I've decided to go to a values-based school, and I think that's what we could see with universities soon as well.
To speak to the AnheuserBusch story, you know, these parents are also consumers. And what I think is really interesting here is how they've lost $16 billion in market cap as a result of changes that they've made. But I see this as a free market issue, right? If that's the way the company wants to run its business, then they're going to see a loss in market cap and others are going to capitalize on that. In a way, it's sort of, you know, you think of Target, you think of Disney, and the backlash that we've seen. There's enough precedent out there for companies to know that they shouldn't get involved in politics, yet they do it. So if they want to, I would say, go for it.
I think this is the beauty of capitalism at work. Right. And that's what these companies have to learn. I mean, it's marketing 101. You have to know who your target audience is. And Target obviously doesn't know that, you know? So,
no pun intended.
Yeah, that's what we're learning here. But that's also kind of a lesson for politicians too, right? Because politicians don't need to overreach and take government into private business because consumers will vote with their dollars when their companies get out of hand.
I want to bring in some other sort of interesting breaking news that we got in the last few minutes. Iowa teachers are now going to be banned from raising gender identity and sexual orientation issues with students through the 6th grade. And then all books depicting sexual acts are removed from school libraries. This is, again, under a bill that the Iowa governor just signed. Curious how big of an issue you think this will be sort of in the campaign. We started off this conversation talking about Ron DeSantis is, you know, making it at least a piece of his nomination. What do you make of this?
So this is a very important distinction to make. We were talking about companies, and this is schools. So these are taxpayer-funded schools, and that's when the governor does have a job to go in and say, if you have, I mean, they lightly say sexual acts. We're talking about pornography. If there is something that you can't distribute to a child outside of a school, that's illegal, then it should be illegal inside of the school, and that's when you see elected officials needing to step in. So I commend her for doing that, and I do think that will be an issue that goes back and forth on the campaign trail because Democrats are in a tight spot here. What do you say to defend this?
Yeah, but really quickly, just on a personal note, so we've homeschooled our kids for a long time. Fascinating for me to see Governor DeSantis at a homeschool conference. I have lived in states where they have zero interest in you as a parent if you homeschool your kids. It gets to the school choice issue. How big could that be in this election, do you think?
I think it's huge because we've seen it already in states like Iowa. We've seen Arkansas. We've seen Florida. We've seen Oklahoma. They are all going to a school choice model. This is something that has been, people behind the scenes have been working on for 25 years. And so now we're seeing movement after COVID. I think it's huge because parents are wanting to take back that control to have that values-based education, and that'll be a big issue in 2024.
I think one of the biggest dimensions of hope in this country is the school choice movement. It could pay dividends a long way down the road. Tudor, we got to leave it there. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.